Yo, what's up? It's the MMA Analyst here, back again for the UFC 100 preview. UFC 100 is going to be crazy. There's like, 2 title fights, really important fights, really big debuts. I've been waiting for this for a while. I guess I could have done something about my face with all this nastiness in this area here. But, it is what it is. It's MMA, it's not a beauty contest, and even if it was a beauty contest and I did do something, I still wouldn't win. Let's get right down to it, straight from the top. Brock Lesnar versus Frank Mir. There's a lot of beef, like a lot of craziness going on with people saying, why does Brock Lesnar call him Frank Mir when it's obviously Mir? Then I saw this thing on ShareDog about a week ago when it was Frank. I'm going to call him Mir from now on, back in or his early fights before the UFC, or maybe it was the UFC, but the point is, they said, what's your name? And he was like, Frank Mir. And he said his own name was Frank Mir. So, I don't know. If he changed it now because he's big time, I'm going to go with what it is. I'm going to call him Mir from now on. We've got Brock Lesnar versus Frank Mir. Actually, I can't do that. It just sounds ridiculous. Frank Mir, I just can't do it. Brock Lesnar versus Frank Mir. Right now, you've got Brock, who came in. He beat Randy Couture. I think it was a second round TKO. Could have been a third round, but it doesn't matter. The point is, he beat him by TKO. He went out there still on the feet. Boxed a little bit. Actually, tried to take Randy down. Randy stood back up. Randy took Brock down, which was surprising. Brock was just too powerful, too strong. Ended up, catching him with, he's got these crazy long arms. Like, as long as his arms are, you think he was like 11 feet tall or something, and his hands are humongous, but, he's not that tall, but he's got reach galore. And, he had one of those never-ending Dawson punches. It came out, bam, caught Randy Couture right at the side of the head. Randy dropped, and then Brock Lesnar went in with his, trademark, I'm going to call him I don't know, I don't want to get dirty, but, looking like the masturbation type hammer fists, looking like that, but it's not supposed to be that, but he does it like that. But I guess when your hands are that big and you're that strong, it doesn't matter how ridiculous your hammer fists look, they're still going to hurt you and put you unconscious, and that's what happened. The fight before that, he beat Heath Herring, 5-round absolute destruction. He really didn't try anything submission-wise. He just completely controlled Herring, dropped him right off the bat, did like a bull rush. It was just out of control ridiculousness, and he won that fight. Did a whole bunch of funny foolishness as well after acting like he had a lasso when he was roping his Texas crazy horse. So he had a 2-fight winning streak, but his debut in the UFC was against Frank Mir, and in that fight, he went out. We all know what happened. He went out, took Frank down with the quickness, did the hammer fists, but hit Frank honestly once in the back of the head. I think it was Mazzagatti stood up the fight. Lesnar was a little too overzealous. Went in for some ground and pound, standing over Frank Mir's open guard. Frank Mir grabbed onto the ankle, knee bar. Done and done. So now this is the rematch where now Frank Mir, who is 12-3, his only losses coming to Brandon Vera, Mauricio Cruz, and Ian Freeman. Other than that, he's had a pretty good-looking career, especially as of late with his win over Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira, in a fight where I thought Nogueira was going to come out and outbox him, but, whatever it was, whether it was sickness or whether it was just Frank Mir being the man of the hour, he came out there and put a boxing clinic on Nogueira's chin and face, knocked him down 3 times. Referee stopped the fight. If y'all remember where I was that night, I was right here, angry as hell. But I'm over it now. Frank Mir's here trying to get the undisputed title, and he's going to have to beat Brock Lesnar to do that. So what's going to happen, I believe, with Brock Lesnar, getting better and better and better with time, although it's not lots of time, but, I'd say 3 betters for every time. So, you know, a little bit of time, he'll get 3 times better. But I don't think that's going to be enough time. He'd need about 9 betters, in my opinion, to get to the point where he can go out there against a guy like, did that make any sense? To where he could go out against a guy like Frank Mir and not get caught. As more time does pass in the fight, I do not believe Lesnar is going to be as powerful and as explosive as he is in those opening minutes of the first round. In his fight against Randy, he definitely did not look like that unstoppable beast that everybody had claimed he was. You know, a guy that couldn't be taken down, a guy that couldn't be held down, a guy that, you know, was just going to come out and be an absolute wrecking crew, one-man wrecking crew. I think in this fight, Frank Mir, especially with the way his boxing did look against Nogueira, I think that he has the stand-up advantage. I don't think, he definitely has the jiu-jitsu advantage, whether it's off his back. I don't know if he's going to get Lesnar on his back. So, you know, Frank Mir, if he's going to sub Brock, it's going to be off of his own back. I do think he'll be able to do that again. I do believe that this fight will make it into the second round. Sometime in the second round, I see Frank Mir winning by submission. After this fight, you know, it's going to be Brock Lesnar, most likely 3 wins, 2 losses. I don't really know what you do with that. He got the title real quick. He took advantage of the situation that was given to him. He won. You know, he won the fight. But with 3-2 and you're still a beginner and whatnot, and you're 32 already, and your jiu-jitsu is never going to be at the level you need it to be, I'm not exactly sure where that's going to put him. But we'll see what happens here. Next fight, Georges St. Pierre versus Thiago Alves. This is a big fight, title shot again. Thiago Alves is going to come into this fight, you know, the bigger guy, the stronger guy, and the better striker. 3 things that Georges St. Pierre normally has to himself. Whenever Georges St. Pierre comes out, he is normally the bigger guy. He's very big for welterweight. He's normally the better striker, and he's also normally the stronger guy. But Thiago Alves is one of the biggest welterweights in the UFC. He's definitely one of the best strikers, and he's definitely one of the strongest. This guy's so big, it's just, he looks like he should be fighting at middleweight. But this fight's going to come down to Georges St. Pierre, in my opinion, his wrestling against Thiago Alves's everything else. Georges St. Pierre, we know all about him. You know, dude's a champion. He's and not just the champion, but he's a champion. He's 20 wins, 2 losses. His only loss is coming to Matt Serra, but with like upset of the year written all over it, back in 2007. And Matt Hughes, where he said straight up, I was not ready. At that time with Matt Hughes, he was 7-0 going into the fight and lost that fight. And since then, he's just been going on a rampage. You know, he ran through BJ Penn that second time. He beat John Fitch in the beatdown of the year. He smashed Matt Serra. He smashed Matt Hughes. And he absolutely shut down Josh Koscheck. So all props to Georges St. Pierre, who's definitely one of the, like, if you wanted to look at like a martial artist of the new age, you know what I mean? Like, who do people need to fight like maybe to be a champion? A well-rounded game, black belt, and I know it's not, he's got a black belt. I think it might be Guerrilla Jiu-Jitsu. I'm not sure. But anyways, he's got a black belt. He's got a black belt in Taekwondo. He's got amazing wrestling. He's strong. He's got cardio for days. Like, this guy is as well-rounded as it gets. He'll be fighting Thiago Alves. Thiago Alves is he's 16-3. His only losses are coming to John Fitch, Spencer Fisher, and back in 2003 he lost to Derek Noble when he was 4-0. He got submitted by Spencer Fisher, and then he gassed against John Fitch and submitted to strikes, to TKO strikes. But since then, you know, he crushed Josh Koscheck. He obliterated Matt Hughes. He got Karo Parisian, knocked his ass out. Chris Lytle cut him up. He's been doing this thing as well. He will come again into this fight, like I said, bigger. He will be bigger. It's not to be argued. He will be bigger. Is he stronger? That can be argued, but I believe he's a stronger guy, and he's the better striker. I don't think that's to be argued either. Also, in this fight, I don't think it's going to be a stand-up situation where Georges St. Pierre is going to come out and he's going to say, hey man, let's bang it out, let's see what happens. I believe Georges St. Pierre will be striking with intention to look for the takedown. Because if Georges St. Pierre does take it to the ground with his wrestling ability, he has a much greater chance of winning that fight. He doesn't have to worry about getting caught with a punch or a kick or a knee or an elbow or the many dangerous limbs and ligaments or whatever you want to call it that Thiago Alves can come at him with. If he stands and bangs with him, anything can happen. If George takes it to the ground and keeps it on the ground, he will likely be able to wear down and eventually wear out and then pound out or tap out Thiago Alves. The whole thing is, though, the thing about this, which I'm going to throw that little looping curveball or whatever, I don't know what you want to call it, but Thiago Alves knows this. Thiago Alves, I do not think he's coming out there, he's training for a kickboxing match. I believe he's training for the sprawl and the brawl. Excuse me. I think he's training for somebody that he knows is going to come in and try and take him down. Now, what we've seen so far from Georges St. Pierre with his wrestling is we've seen him take down, and beat up John Fitch, who was a big guy, but he's not as big as Thiago Alves. And also, Georges St. Pierre is a better striker than John Fitch. We saw him take down a much smaller BJ Penn, another guy that Georges St. Pierre is better striking than. Matt Hughes, he's old, and he has no striking. Matt Serra, again, he's very small, and his striking is not all that. He does have knockout power, but none of these guys, Josh Koscheck included, bring the situation that Thiago Alves brings, which is Georges St. Pierre will not be the better striker. Georges St. Pierre's striking always looks good. Well, first of all, he's a good striker, but it looks even better when people are afraid of his takedowns. People are afraid of his takedowns, and they're not as good striking, so he can decide to punch you, he can decide to take you down, he can do whatever he wants. I don't think Thiago Alves is going to be scared of Georges St. Pierre's striking, and I don't think that he's going to be surprised by his takedowns. Based on those two things, I do believe that, in a way, Georges St. Pierre will be rendered a wrestler, just a straight wrestler. He'll come out, he'll throw a couple, pawing jabs, go for takedowns. He'll throw a few kicks, go for takedowns. I think Thiago Alves will be ready for this. I do believe that Thiago Alves, especially with his performances against both Matt Hughes and Josh Koscheck with his takedown defense, I do think that Thiago Alves will get the late first round knockout win over Georges St. Pierre. And just for the record, I am Canadian. I did pick Georges St. Pierre to absolutely destroy BJ Penn. I just don't think that this is the right fight for Georges St. Pierre to go through and do what he normally does. Thiago Alves, first round, end of the round, knockout. Alright, next fight. We've got John Fitch versus Paulo Thiago. Paulo Thiago has just really, he came out here. Basically, it looked like he was supposed to just get beat up by Josh Koscheck. Josh Koscheck had come off a difficult, I believe it was a difficult loss. He came over off a loss to Georges St. Pierre. Then he fought, what the hell happened? Anyways, I think he had a loss, and then they're supposed to get him the quick win. So they said, you will bring over Paulo Thiago, he's just a jiu-jitsu guy, no real hands, you can go out there, you can be real impressive. And what ended up happening was he got his ass knocked out in the first round when he was headhunting. And my memories come back. He lost to Thiago Alves in a bad situation. Then he went out and was really impressive against Yoshiyuki Yoshida, knocked his ass out, got the knockout of the night, and then was supposed to come back and I guess probably be a little quick tune-up fight. And that's when he was headhunting the whole fight, just trying to get that knockout, looking for it, and then he just got clipped and got his ass knocked out. And then, Paulo Thiago ended up getting that knockout of the night. Anyways, Paulo Thiago is 11-0. He's got 6 wins by submission, 2 by knockout. Really only 1 by knockout because one of his TKO victories was really an injury. So he is undefeated, but in that first fight, his hands look real questionable. He had these looping overhands that he just kept doing. It just didn't look good for Paulo Thiago. He came out, he got the win, and now, people want to know how good is Paulo Thiago? Is he really as good as, as he would want us to believe, as his win over Koscheck would lead some to believe? So they're giving him another good test in John Fitch. John Fitch, that guy won on an 8-fight winning streak in the UFC. Prior to that, he might have been on like a 14-fight winning streak, something crazy like that, before he finally got his title shot against George St. Pierre. That ended up being the beatdown of the year. He got knocked down, could have been knocked out like 5 times. He got whipped for 5 rounds, and he's a tough-ass dude. He never gave up, never gave in. He earned a lot of respect from a lot of guys. If he would have went out there, he gained more respect in the loss to George St. Pierre than Matt Serra did in a win against George St. Pierre. So that just goes to show you, that's a crazy dude, John Fitch. Anyways, he's got his 3 losses: 1 to George St. Pierre, 1 to Wilson Govea back in 2002, and his very first fight was to Mike Pyle, and he got submitted back in 2002 as well. But ever since 2003, he's only had 1 loss. That's to George St. Pierre. He went out, he beat Akira Gono. Now he's fighting Paulo Thiago. John Fitch, in my opinion, is going to come out in this fight. He's got good jiu-jitsu. Actually, he's the one with the Guerrilla Jiu-Jitsu black belt. So, I don't know. I forget exactly who George St. Pierre got his black belt from, but I think he just recently got it. But anyways, I can't remember everything. Anyways, I think John Fitch is going to be big enough, strong enough, powerful enough, and good enough on the ground to not get submitted and to win a unanimous decision, basically by being a big, strong wrestler and holding down his opponent and avoiding all types of dangerous situations. And if he does get in a dangerous situation, being able to be, good enough to get out of it. All right, on to the next fight. Everybody, listen to me now. This is a fight. If you are from the UK and you do not like me, this is not going to help. If you're from the UK and you do like my videos, this may not help. If you are a huge Michael Bisping fan and you happen to like my videos, you will have conflict in the very near future, okay? So just warning everybody. Some people will be very, very hurt with what I'm about to say with this next fight regarding Dan Henderson, Michael Bisping. I'm already ready. I'm ready for all the comments. I'm ready for there's going to be some racist comments, because, people, they automatically jump to race, They be like, fighter A is going to beat fighter B. And then the guy goes, Porsche monkey, you know what I'm saying? Like, just craziness that doesn't have anything to do with it. But I'm ready for it. I gotta stay true. And I know I'm probably never going to get an interview with Michael Bisping. I'm willing to accept that. This is going to hurt some people, alright? I'm sorry. But this is what it's going to be. I gotta keep it real. Michael Bisping versus Dan Henderson. I'm not even going to talk about Dan Henderson right now. We're going to get to Michael Bisping right off the bat. Now, let me preface all of this with saying, if Michael Bisping comes to this fight and shows a lot of skill that he has previously never shown, yes, then, something else could happen. But if the Michael Bisping that showed up in the past shows up to this fight, the Michael Bisping that only has, 1 loss, the Michael Bisping that's 18 or 17-1. The Michael Bisping that went on a 14-fight winning streak and only lost to Rashad Evans. Yes, if he shows up without vast improvements in many facets of the game, he is going to get his ass beat hard and fast, and he's going to get called son. Look, Here's the situation. Michael Bisping's coming to this fight against Dan Henderson. Let's just take a look at the skill sets of each guy. Or at least Michael Bisping, what he brings to this fight. Does Michael Bisping bring the jiu-jitsu that will scare Dan Henderson or that will worry Dan Henderson? Does Dan Henderson go into this fight worried about, oh no, what happens if I get put in submission type situations? Absolutely not. He's not worried. Alright? Dan Henderson went out there against Nogueira. You know, both of them. You know what I mean? It's the only guy that's ever tapped him other than Anderson Silva. He's been out there with Husmer Palhares. He's been out there with Vitor Belfort. He's been out there with Murillo Bustamante. You know, he twice. Ricardo Arona. I mean, he's been out there with Babalu. Okay? He's been out there with absolute grappling masters. Alright? And the only people that ever tapped him out were the Nogueira brothers and Anderson Silva. So, does Bisping bring the jiu-jitsu needed to even worry Dan Henderson? Absolutely not. Alright, let's move on to the wrestling. We're going to keep it on the ground. What happens if somehow Dan Henderson gets put on his back? Is that possible? Probably not. Dan Henderson is a 2-time Olympic wrestling guy for the USA, not for some cheesy country where the wrestlers come Listen, Dan Henderson is a real wrestler, Greco-Roman wrestler, okay? Can Michael Bisping threaten Dan Henderson's wrestling? If Michael Bisping only worked on wrestling since his fight with Chris Lieben, that's all he did, would he be even coming anywhere close to Dan Henderson's wrestling ability? Absolutely no chance in hell. It's like thinking that Brock Lesnar can have the submission prowess of, like, Frank Mir. No, not gonna happen. Alright, now let's talk about the striking. Two sides of the striking. There's the striking ability, and then the power, the threat. Alright, Michael Bisping, does he have better striking all around than Dan Henderson? Absolutely. He's got, you know, more crisp strikes. He's got better head movement. He's got the reach. He's got, you know, he's okay with his 1-2. I'm not going to hate on that at all. And I'm not really hating at all. I'm just telling the truth. But he's definitely going to be okay with putting out the combinations. But does he have the power to make Dan Henderson worry about, oh no, you know, what if he knocks me out? What if I get caught by a Michael Bisping punch? What if I get dazed? And no, he does not have to worry about that. All right, Dan Henderson's never been knocked out. All right, he's known for two things. We'll get to the second one later, but the first one is being able to take a punch. All right, he's got a chin made of granite and steel and all types of other crazy hard materials. All right, so he's not going to worry about getting knocked out. So now you've got a guy, Dan Henderson, who doesn't have to worry about anything on the ground, doesn't have to worry about getting knocked out, and if he wants to, all he has to do is come in for the takedown, get the takedown, and then use his superior ground game to win the fight. So, I don't understand how, first of all, Michael Bisping can be upset that people think, why is he the underdog? And then B, why do a bunch of people pick Michael Bisping to win this fight? What are you basing it on? What are you using when it comes to your rationale and reasoning skills to say fighter A, Michael Bisping, will beat fighter B, Dan Henderson? Doesn't make any sense to me. Dan Henderson, if he wants to, can go out there and act like an absolute retard and chase him around with the right hand and try and knock him out and not worry about getting beat up. Does Dan Henderson gas? No. You know, he went 5 minutes with big ass Quentin Rampage Jackson pushing the pace. 5 rounds, he wasn't gassed. So he's going to go out there. He can go and try and knock him out, but that's not the best idea. He needs to go out and try and knock him out. But in the meantime, while he's swinging at that right, going for the takedowns, once you get that takedown, pin this dude up against the cage, knock him out. That's probably what's going to happen, alright? It's probably going to happen in the second round. I don't think Dan Henderson is just going to go crazy in the first round and just try and run out and act like he's a beginner. I think he's going to come out, he's going to take his time, he's going to grind him down in the first round. Bisping's going to get up in between rounds 1 and round 2, be like, oh damn, you know what I mean? I done put my money where my mouth is, and I can't cash the checks, or whatever those little phrases are. Round 2 is going to come out. Dan Henderson's going to say, alright, now let's put it away. And it's going to be nasty, alright? Now, does this change the fact that, Michael Bisping is a pretty good fighter? No, it doesn't. Michael Bisping is a pretty good fighter. Do I have any issues with Michael Bisping? Absolutely not. You know what I mean? Like, the dude's a fighter. He's out there doing his thing. You know what I mean? He is a little bit of the not a little bit, he is absolutely the poster boy for UK MMA. But do I believe that Michael Bisping says nobody rates him in the top 10 in the middleweight. And this is not a Michael Bisping bashing fest. Even though if this was a Sherdog post, I'd probably get banned. But I will say it like this. In the middleweight division, who could Michael Bisping beat that is considered a top guy? Can he beat Nate Marquardt? No. No way. Can he beat Damian Maia? Absolutely not. Could he beat Anderson Silva? Let's not joke. Dan Henderson? Quit being crazy. Rich Franklin? Hell no. I don't think he could beat Husama Paul Harris. Yushin Okami. That's 7 people. That's just in the UFC. You know what I mean? Come on. You know what I mean? Dude is a good fighter. He's a good poster boy, but he's not top 10 material. In the world of MMA, all organizations, he might be like number 17. He might be number 17. Anyways, Dan Henderson by second round, I'm going to call it TKO. Alright? I'm ready for the hate. Bring it. You know what I mean? I'm not normally that dude, but I know it's coming. I remember I said, bring on season 10 of the Ultimate Fighter, and these guys all came out like, F you. I was like, damn. These guys really serious. Alright, Yoshihiro Akiyama versus Alan Belcher. When people talk about the sexiest fighters in MMA, they always talk about Gina Carano, and they always talk about all these female fighters, you know what I mean? But everybody knows that the real sexiest fighter in all of MMA is AKA Sexyama. I mean, it's funny, just a whole bunch of heterosexual dudes always talk about how sexy this dude is. It's an ongoing joke. It'll never stop. I love it. It's funny as hell. Yoshihiro Akiyama. We need to put him on the cover of Maxim. So now look. Dude is 12 wins. He's got 1 loss. They hate him in Japan. This guy, they hate him, man. They hate him in Japan. Oh my God. They hate him. They hate him so much that they boo him. If you get booed in Japan, you know that they hate you. Straight up. In Japan, they will watch 2 people hold hands for 15 minutes, and they will not boo, and they will clap for the winner. But if Akiyama's out there, oh my God, they will boo, they will boo, they will boo. Forget about his fights. You know what I mean? He's got some good wins. Okay, let's not forget about his fights. He knocked out Dennis Kang. He submitted Manhoef. He knocked out Smirnovas. His only loss in MMA is to Jerome LeBanner in the second fight, and it's by knees. If you don't know who Jerome LeBanner is, he's a kickboxer. He's about 250 pounds of muscle, and he's crazy. So that's nothing to be ashamed of. But he does have the no contest to Sakuraba for greasing, which is why they hate him. And then he also has the no contest against Masaki, in which he had actually won that fight, but, some stuff, technicalities. Anyways, Akiyama's coming to the UFC. He's bringing his sexiness. The UFC's going to try and market his whatever he has. You know what he brings. They're trying to market his marketability, and they're trying to find that Asian superstar. You know what I mean? So they're bringing over Akiyama. Alan Belcher is kind of like the welcoming party to all foreign fighters nowadays. Even though Dennis Kang's Canadian, he also has like an Asian background. So, they brought Dennis Kang over, and Dennis Kang got choked out in a fight that he probably could have won, but he just got a little overzealous for some takedowns. He's actually kind of tired in the second round, got tapped. Now we've got Alan Belcher. He's got 5 losses, 14 wins. He got submitted by Kendall Grove. He got decision by Yushin Okami. Heck, who doesn't? He lost to Jason Day by TKO. He lost to Marvin Eastman. But other than that, he beat Ed Herman, Dennis Kang. He beat Caleb Starnes, Sean Salmon, Jorge Santiago. Anyways, y'all, this is going to be a good fight. You've got a guy, Akiyama, who a lot of guys aren't sure how good really is he. And this is a great test for him in Alan Belcher because, Alan Belcher is continuously improving. His stand-up's good. He's getting better on the ground. His wrestling's pretty good. What do I think's going to happen? I mean, in my head, for some reason, I see Alan Belcher winning this. You know what I mean? It's a tough fight to really call. But in my heart, you know what I mean? I got to go with Yoshihiro Akiyama. Since I can't really vocalize or put it into words, like why Alan Belcher would win, like I don't think Akiyama was going to gas. I don't think, Alan Belcher is going to come out and just knock him out. So since I can't really vocalize why I think Alan Belcher would win, even though that's what happens in my head, I got to pick Akiyama. I'm going to say Akiyama is, I think he comes out maybe and submits. F submits. Decision. Split decision. That's what I'm going to say. Akiyama, split decision over Alan Belcher in a very close fight. Alright? Alright. Now, undercard real quick. Mark Coleman versus Stephan Bonnar. Mark Coleman, we know who he is. Stephan Bonnar, we know what's up with him. No use getting into all of this stuff. I'm picking Stephan Bonnar winning by first round TKO. Alright? Jim Miller versus Mac Danzig. I'm picking Jim Miller by decision. John Jones versus Jake O'Brien. Look, if John Jones can come out here and do what he did to Stephan Bonnar and not gassed out and use his wrestling to keep this fight off the ground, because if Jake O'Brien goes to the ground and puts John Jones on his back and keeps him on his back, it's going to be a real boring, long loss for John Jones. But if John Jones can use his really good wrestling and his flashy strikes to absolutely, manhandle Jake O'Brien, then we can have, another type of fight where it was like Anthony Rumble Johnson versus Tommy Spear, where you just got one guy who completely outclasses the other dude. So John Jones is a guy to look at in the future. He's very young. He's very exciting fighter. He's got a real good head on his shoulders. Picking John Jones in that fight. I think he might be able to, pull off a middle to late first round knockout. Alright, Dong Hyun Kim, I'm picking him over TJ Grant, but I want to warn Dong Hyun Kim, don't go to the decision. Do not go to the decision. You can't be Asian and go to the decision, alright? Can't do it. You need to not win by decision. Or at least don't even go to decision, because TJ Grant already got Prana looking dude. What's his name? Ryo Chonin. You know what I mean? I was at that, and I was pretty damn sure that Ryo Chonin won that fight. Do not go to the decision if you want this win, Dong Hyun Kim. I'm picking Dong Hyun Kim. I gotta pick him by decision, but I'm just saying. It's a very, very questionable place to go. CB Dollaway. I'm going to pick CB Dollaway over Tom Lawler. And I'm going to pick Shannon Gergety over Matt Grice. UFC 100, great main card. You've got 2 title shots. You've got Dan Henderson versus Michael Bisping. I would personally like to see the winner of Dan Henderson, Michael Bisping, either fight the winner of Marquardt Maya, or Marquardt Maya get the title shot, and then the winner of these here gets the title shot of whoever beats or wins in the fight between Maya, Marquardt against Anderson Silva. Whoever wins that will face the winner of Dan Henderson, Michael Bisping. I'd like to see that. You got the introduction to the UFC of Yoshihiro Sexyama. I mean, it's going to be a great card. I can't wait for it. Luckily, I don't have to. Sorry about the wait for the video, guys. Had some issues with my computer, the power cord, all types of ghetto crazy stuff. But I'm on top of it. Also, with the Sunday night, the radio show there, I heard Chase did it last night. Chase is dedicated, Joe. I'm not saying I'm not dedicated. I'm just saying he is dedicated. And good job, Chase. I'll see you guys Sunday morning, you know what I mean? Saturday night, Sunday morning. Talk about this fight after it already happens. Quick recap. I got Mir winning. I got Thiago Alves winning. I got John Fitch winning. I got Dan Henderson winning. I got Akiyama winning. Alright? MMA, y'all. It is important. Peace.